right, so you're sick of all this New York song reference stuff and the endless Brooklyn pandering and Queens pandering. The good news is New York is over. It's time to pander to Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, and New Jersey. I'm joined by political analyst Jesse Mermel and Jeff Simone for a closer look at the state of the campaign. She's a Democrat, he's a Republican, but you'll figure that out soon enough. Welcome to both of you.
Hi, Sue.
I'm doing my Brenda Vaccaro imitation today. Google it, you'll be fine. Okay, so first let's take a look at Bernie Sanders, who's still in the race. Let's take a look. He was surrounded by reporters with some post-New York fighting words.
So we lost tonight. There are 5 primaries next week. We think we're going to do well, and we have a path toward victory, which we are going to fight to maintain.
So, Jesse, does that mean check with me next Wednesday and I'll be out of the race by then?
I don't think it means I'll be out of the race by next Wednesday, but I think that was a more nuanced path to victory discussion than we've ever heard from Bernie Sanders before. And I have to say, as someone who was born and raised in Pennsylvania, I'm excited for the Pennsylvania pandering that's ahead.
Yeah, yes, I know. I don't even know what that's going to look like.
Lots of Hershey's chocolate. Yeah, it'll be great.
Jeff, what about Sanders? It's starting to sink in that it's over, or we're just going to win some more?
Probably. It's more, I think he's coming to the conclusion that it's over, but is he going to stick around and get his message out there? And what damage will that do to Hillary Clinton in the process? I know that's what folks on the Democratic side are considering, and it's something to be considered, but depending on who we nominate, they might not have to worry about it.
And I would just differentiate between getting his message out there and attacking Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
If he's pushing his message, if he's attacking the Republicans, I think that's nothing but good for the Democrats. If he's running against Hillary Clinton, that's a whole different story.
Well, Hillary's not attacking. She's sounding like she's giving folks a nice big warm hug. Let's take a look.
And to all the people who supported Senator Sanders, I believe there is much more that unites us than divides us.
Yes, hugging. Lots of hugging.
We were feeling the love last night,
Yeah.
you know, and that's exactly what she should be doing. Listen, Hillary Clinton, probably more than anyone in recent history, knows what it feels like to be Bernie Sanders, and the Hillary supporters, myself included, knows what it feels like to be a Sanders supporter, to have worked so hard, to have built this campaign, to believe in someone, and to start to see the writing on the wall that it's probably not going to happen. This is what she needs to be doing to bring those folks into the
We
fold.
talk about this often in primaries on both Republican, not so much this year, but Republican and Democratic side. It's rare that the beaten candidate then goes out and disappears or campaigns against the nominee.
The Democrats are a lot better at uniting for a general election. I think that was the case certainly for Barack Obama in 2008, and that'll probably be the case in 2016, even though there is a poll coming out that's saying 30% of Sanders supporters won't support Hillary Clinton. I think that number will probably drop by quite a bit come to the general election, but that's as it is right now. If this goes on for a couple months, and like Jesse mentioned earlier, if Sanders' main line of attack is going after Hillary Clinton, it could theoretically do a fair amount of damage.
All right, let's switch over to the Republican side. The man that's still there, the last man standing, John Kasich, he's getting a laugh with his convention prediction.
So we're going to be deadlocked. And then what delegates are going to do is they're going to consider, I think, fundamentally 2 things. Now this one's crazy. Who could win in the fall? Okay?
You know, Jesse, I would say it's crazy for him to even think he has a shot, but, Donald Trump is looking like the nominee, so who the heck knows?
Anything is possible, clearly. I mean, Kasich and Cruz are both putting all of their very limited number of eggs in the contested convention basket and hoping that Donald Trump doesn't win on the first ballot and that they have a shot. And, I think that's what Kasich has in the back of his mind.
He's run this plan. This has been his plan from the beginning, and it's still running.
It's a terrible plan. If I can look in right into the camera, yes, John Kasich will not be the nominee. If it gets to a point where it's a contested convention, there are other options besides John Kasich that are far more attractive to the individuals who will be at the convention that possibly have run before. I mean, you can rattle off a name of who's who in the Republican Party.
But he eats a lot. Look at people loving that fish sandwich. I can't wait for the steak and cheese in Philly. We're going to get one of those.
The man has a hearty appetite.
He does. He does. He likes to eat. All right. So Ted Cruz is kind of facing his mortality a little bit. He was asked the question about what would cause him to drop out.
The only condition in which I would leave the race is if it was clear there was no path to victory. At this point, we are headed on a path to victory.
I don't know, Jeff.
His plan
There's like
apparently
never not going to be a path for victory the way that the way this convention's going to be.
Well, if it's a contested convention, he has a legitimate shot at winning it. I mean, there's some amount of crossover in the polling that you look at between Trump supporters and Cruz supporters. They may actually want to support Ted Cruz, some of the former Donald Trump supporters. He's got an amazing ground game. He is working the delegate system, as evidenced in Colorado and Wyoming. He has got a great operation. He could very well pull this off.
And we should point out, Jesse, that the Pennsylvania delegates, this is probably the craziest state of getting delegates. It absolutely is both proportional and winner take all, and you
Some
have to.
congressional district.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
You know, I will be back there this weekend with my parents, and I can tell you that Pennsylvania is a crazy state, even beyond this delegate system.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was funny because I got to an article that said that it would explain to me, and I didn't want to know because I was afraid my head would explode. All right, of course it's time for Donald Trump time, and of course he is getting ready to get a little moniker for Hillary because he's expecting to run against her. He likes to call her Crooked Hillary.
I love running against Crooked Hillary. I love that. I mean, so much. It's one of the reasons that New York gave me such an incredible.
All right, so he's at least finally figured out that he's running against Hillary, and he's figured out he has to get these delegates in Pennsylvania. Had a big shakeup in the campaign staff. Are we seeing the pivot to the serious Trump?
I don't know about serious Trump, but you're seeing the pivot to general election Trump. The folks he brought on board, former campaign manager to Scott Walker, another advisor who was at the 76 contested convention between Ford and Reagan. So this is a serious move, and he's actually going to start to put some money towards it. You saw it even in the tone in the press conference last night. I think that this is probably, him going after Hillary signals that, he's not there yet. He hasn't won it yet, but he smartly is acting like he already has.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've seen him go after Hillary before, and we've sat here and said, oh, it looks like Donald Trump is pivoting toward the general, and then the next day
Right,
he
this
says
is true.
something
Lion Ted.
absolutely insane about his primary opponent.
Right.
So I agree. It does appear that we're gearing towards maybe not fully serious Donald Trump, but more serious Donald Trump. But, the man has surprised us many a time.
Every
so
day.
He went back to
we
his
can't
old
count on
ways
anything.
today.
It's
so,
hard.
Yeah.
So, there's still rumors about a third party in the Republican race or Bernie Sanders running as an independent. Any traction to those rumors at this point?
Doubtful. I mean, logistically, it'd be so hard at this point to run an independent campaign. As we're going into mid-spring. Now, I don't think that's likely at all.
Yeah, agreed. I think the bigger question is whether or not a third party on either side comes out after this election.
Do you think that the threats from both the Bernie supporters and the Trump supporters to leave the parties if things don't go their way, is that a real?
I think that's real. I mean, you're watching something amazing happen in the Democrat Party, which is just about 50% of the party base is supporting a Democrat socialist. I mean, very far left ideas. Even so, that makes Hillary Clinton look somewhat moderate in comparison. That's a good thing for her. But that's really a bellwether for the rest of the party that has been moved significantly to the left.
Do you think that Bernie would or the Trump people would stay with the Republican Party and other Republicans will go off and make some new party?
Yeah, the way I see it going into the convention, someone's going to be unhappy. You're either going to have, traditional Republicans who are going to be furious that Donald Trump is the nominee, or you're going to have Donald Trump supporters who are furious that the guy who got the most votes, who they supported, isn't the nominee. I think either way that convention goes, you could see a serious split in the Republican Party coming out of November.
Jeff Simone, Jesse Mermel, thank you for coming in. As always, appreciate your objectivity on all the parties. So we appreciate it.